welcome everybody. So here's the deal for the day. Actually, here's the deal for a little while. We're going to change the format just a little bit. I'm going to start going through the entire Bible. And today we'll be starting where it all begins, in Genesis. Genesis 1 through 13. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Quite a start, but you just don't know even the half of it. Let's look at the very first line. In the beginning. Nothing much there, you're saying to yourself. Aha, contraire, mon frère. The ancient Hebrew language, the original biblical text. Well, that sums up that phrase in one word, Bereshit, in the beginning. The thing is, this ancient Hebrew alphabet, well, it's made up of 22 letters, and each letter is also a pictograph that has its own meaning. Bereshit looks like this, but is read from right to left, opposite of the way we read. So the first symbol is, and the separate meaning of that letter is the house, the means of the highest. That means God. That one means shall be destroyed by his own hand. And finally, that means on a cross. So the very first word, Bereshit, in the ancient Hebrews, meant the house of the great one God, who shall be destroyed by his own hand on a cross. God's whole plan for salvation is right there in that very first word of Genesis. Now let's get the actual scripture going with Genesis 1 and 2. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless, empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. See, here's the deal, guys. In the very beginning, God created. That tells us that God existed before anything, before everything. There was nothing until God created everything in an instant. So what does physical science say about that? Well, you probably heard about the Big Bang Theory, but hey, you don't know completely what's that. The leading scientific explanation says that the universe started with an infinitely hot and dense single point that exploded at unimaginable speeds some 13.7 billion years ago, and it's still expanding. Astronomers can actually use mathematical formulas and models to prove that everything in our universe began in an instant. There was nothing, and then bam, that was everything. But how did the authors of the Bible know this? Not because the Bible is the inspired word of God. And that, my friends, is the name of that tune. Continuing now with Genesis 1, 3 through 5. God said, let there be light. And there was light. God saw that the light was good. And he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. There was evening and morning on the first day. Did you know that darkness isn't really an entity? It's simply the absence of light. Okay, we're in Genesis 1, 6 through 8 now. And God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate the water from the water. So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. And God called this vault sky. And there was evening and there was morning on that second day. Now, Genesis 1, 9 through 13 tells us, and God said, let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let the dry ground appear. And it was so. And God called the dry ground land. And he gathered the waters, and he called them the seas. And God saw that these were good. Then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees, on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds. And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seed in it, according to their kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning on that third day. Now let's take a breath here and discuss this. How do I know? How does anybody know that God even exists? Well, in a nutshell, belief in God isn't about taking a leap of faith grounded in emotions. It's actually rooted in a logical appreciation of the intricate beauty around us. There are many solid philosophical and even scientific reasons to believe in a higher power. Yet the Bible doesn't spend a whole lot of time arguing about those points. Instead, it points out that the stunning beauty and the complexity of the world around us reveals the mark of an intelligent design. For instance, consider a single-cell organism. It's so sophisticated, well, it couldn't just pop into existence by itself. Despite all the scientific knowledge about cells, researchers still can't create life from scratch. A thoughtful creator must be behind it all. Then too, literally billions of people have turned to the Bible for guidance, with over 5 to 7 billion copies sold. With all those people reading the Bible, if it was proven false or misleading, hey, it would never have survived. It's pretty hard to ignore this lasting impact, which makes a good place to stop for this week. We'll pick it up again next week, right here where we left off. Till then, may God give you eyes to see and ears to listen.